Okay, being the appointed hour or half hour, and there being a quorum present, I'll open the September 18th, 2025 edition of the Conservation Commission meeting. And we have several things on the agenda. One is the continuation of a meeting for solar panels at the salvage yard on Route 5. And the other is a house addition on Sylvester Road. If anybody has a comment that doesn't involve either of these two hearings that we're going to have, by all means, speak up. If you have a complaint on a wetlands violation or something that you've seen, now's the time to talk. And do we have public here, Sarah?
We do, but I see no hands.
No hands. Okay. And scrolling around here. This chairman stuff is new to me. Well, seems new. First item on the agenda is the continuation for notice of intent for construction of 9 solar panel canopies within the riverfront buffer zone and bordering land subject to flooding. And this is Parallel Products Solar Energy at 182 Mount Tom Road. And I'm pretty sure there's somebody here for that.
Yes, good evening. Michael Minot here, attorney for Parallel Products. I see that Phil Cavallo, a representative of Parallel Products, is also on the call, as well as Scott Daggett from Farland Corporation, the project engineer. So I can start us off here, and then I will turn it over to Scott to go through some of the most recent changes and update the commission on everything since the last meeting. So I think the first or the biggest change since we were last before the commission was removal of everything from that 50-foot protected zone, except for the stormwater retention controls, which were left in. As noted, I see in the staff report, it mentions signage to demarcate where that zone begins. And also there was the addition of shrubbery and some plantings to also help further mitigate potential water runoff issues. I've also been advised that there's been a pretty substantial reduction in the number of vehicles on the property. My understanding is that this number has been reduced from around 2,000 to down in the 200 range. And so that's a pretty meaningful reduction in the vehicles on site. And in addition to that, I see there's a note in the staff report regarding the compensatory flood storage, which was a topic of discussion at the last couple meetings that I appeared at. I'll let Scott discuss that, but we're hopeful that with these changes and the additional information that's been provided, that the board can be satisfied and hopefully approve the project with whatever conditions, reasonable conditions the commission feels is appropriate here. But we've really tried to address the issues and to do so to the commission satisfaction. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Scott, who can walk through the changes and and the plans, and also address the compensatory storage question.
Hello, my name is Scott Daggett, Senior Project Manager for Farland Corp. So the majority of the changes that we made to the plan since the last revision is the removal of anything within that 50-foot buffer zone. That included any of the solar panels, any of the proposed gravel access roads that would be used for the movement of vehicles on the site, and practically anything that was within that 50-foot buffer zone that was proposed is no longer proposed in that 50-foot buffer zone, except for the stormwater management controls. We felt that keeping those in place right up against that area where the bank starts to drop was beneficial to keep it at that particular location instead of moving it forward. In essence, what we also did was based on the suggestion of Carolyn Mish, the Northampton planning director, is to provide petroleum absorbing landscaping plants from the edge of that 50-foot buffer zone right up to those stormwater controls. And what that will do is it's a form of pre-treatment. So before any runoff gets to those particular stormwater controls, there will be a certain amount of pre-treatment before it actually gets into those stormwater controls. That was one reason why we decided not to move the stormwater controls forward of the 50-foot buffer zone. This way, those petroleum absorbent plants will be able to do their job. It'll be less of an impact on the proposed area that we want to work with. Because if we were to take that stormwater control and put it at the limits of that 50-foot buffer zone, now we have to encroach more into the areas of our proposed work to be able to create some kind of pre-treatment before it gets into those stormwater controls. Some of the other things that we also did when it comes to compensatory storage, we didn't change any of the numbers. Well, there may have been a slight change because of the removal of the mitigation area, the changes that we made to the 50-foot buffer zone. So there were no impacts in the 50-foot buffer zone. So that kind of changed the compensatory storage slightly because we made some changes to the gravel road. At one point, we had a portion of the gravel road or the gravel access aisle actually just crossing into that 50-foot buffer zone. So we pushed that back and that made some very small changes to the compensatory storage by just keeping that road out of there. Since the last meeting, we had proposed the removal of some of those large trailers to accommodate the difference in compensatory storage that we couldn't provide before. We're hoping that, that will be an acceptable method, especially since we don't have any topography anywhere else on site where we can make up that difference. So generally, the majority of changes that we have proposed in the plan were spelled out within the response letter that I had provided to Sarah, and I believe she shared that with the rest of the commission. So the 50-foot buffer zone is now, I know we called it a conservation restriction area. I don't know if that's true. I read your response in the report that Sarah provided. I wasn't sure what to call it. I mean, that's something that we can always discuss and change. You know, it's just a matter of just calling it something different. I know Sarah had mentioned in the staff report that you feel that there should be some kind of barriers or something to better delineate that. What we had done on the plan was provide some landscaping in the form of shrubs. Again, those particular types of shrubs being petroleum absorbing type landscaping shrubs that would also help to delineate that line, as well as placing the signage every, I think it's like 150 feet or so, as opposed to putting these large boulders or, you know, other types of barriers, trying to keep a natural looking aesthetic to it, instead of creating this, you know, Jersey barrier or, you know, large boulders. So we were trying to keep or maintain a more natural aesthetic to doing that. So if you have any questions, feel, you know, answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, you show gaps in your remediation areas.
Yeah,
And I'm
so-
wondering what are they for, and really they should be removed and just have a continuous remediation barrier.
Well, so the gaps, what the gaps do, I broke up the remediation areas based on elevation so that they can be nearly as flat as possible, so that water will fill up evenly and overflow. Whereas if I were to create one continuous trench, then everything would be flowing from your high point, which would be your northerly side, all the way down to your southerly side. So you won't get this even fill of the trench and then eventually overflow somewhat evenly. If I were to create that all one trench and grade it like this very large but deep swale, you're going to have your runoff pooling at one particular end. And we tried to avoid that, and that's why we split it up based on elevation to keep it somewhat level. And the only way that we could do that was to have these gaps in between the trenches. If the gaps are an issue, we can certainly grade it in such a way so that it would force any runoff into one of the trenches, as opposed to what you may perceive as, you know, runoff actually getting between the trenches. I mean, the space between the trenches, approximately 3 feet, maybe 4 feet at the most. I can't imagine that there would be a lot of runoff actually making its way in between those trenches. But it's certainly something that, you know, we can address if it's necessary.
Okay. Questions from other commissioners?
So what's the elevation difference between those different segments of treatment?
Yeah, so if you have that plan available,
Yep, it's right in front of me.
so I
Scott,
believe the
you might-
planting,
Scott, can you share it on the screen?
yeah.
It'd be helpful.
All right, just give me a
Give me
moment, please.
1 second. Hang on.
Okay,
You should be good.
all right, thank you. I just got to figure out how to do the share. Okay, so I assume that everyone can see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so to the far north, we have a stone infiltration trench, which is a little bit different than the bioretention area. So the
That's
bioretention
actually
area,
west, Scott. That's
is it
west.
west?
Yeah,
Yeah, excuse me.
the road runs north-south.
I got my bearings messed up, sorry. So bioretention area number 5, the bottom of the bioretention area is elevation 111. The top is elevation 112. And then the adjacent one to that drops in elevation by a foot. So the low elevation in the trench is 110 and the upper elevation is 111. And as you go down to the next one, the low part of that particular, or the next one is 111, and the top is 112. So it's kind of dipping down. What it's trying to do is it's trying to follow the existing contours of the existing grade of the site. And that's why I have these areas that are actually broken up between the trenches, to try to keep the trenches level, like I've stated before, so that you have, a more level stream, if you will, when it does overtop, so that all of the the runoff is not eventually pooling down to
It's not like,
The-
it's
the one
not,
that's
it's
down
not
slope.
like tipping a bucket, in other
the-
words.
For the record, Christian Fallon, Principal Engineer and President of Fallon Corp. The other reason for doing this is because we want to mimic the existing sheet flow. So what this acts like is more of a level spreader, which mimics existing conditions more than what currently does. So that's the other reason.
One question I have is that I believe you said, Scott, that you could address the gaps in a different manner if 3 to 4 feet could channel, it seems to me. So how might that be addressed?
Well, if you Melissa, if you look at the contours, there is a little gap, but if you look at the contours, the grading actually grades to one side. If you look at like the one in between the 111 and 113 contour, that 113 contour actually shifts the water towards the right.
I see.
So it would get into that area, although there is a gap, but it's like more of a like a little mound. But the water does get to the drainage areas. It doesn't bypass them really.
Would there be any reason not to place, if you're only talking about 1.5 feet to max 2 feet, would there be any reason not to place a boulder at that junction?
We could do that, or we could just put some more plantings in there, which would guide the water, more of like a mound to guide the water to one side.
It seems that the plantings could serve the purpose, as long as there's some continued monitoring about the health of the plantings.
Yeah, we did. Scott did provide an operation and maintenance plans for the.
Great.
In this, I mean, if the commission approves this, this would be an ongoing condition
Mhm.
that we would provide an update on the plantings every year. Any plantings that die would be replaced with similar plantings.
Mhm.
But plants would be the best thing for the environment. I mean, we could put a boulder there in between if you want, but I would highly recommend that we stick with shrubs for many reasons.
Yeah, it seems that plantings would do the trick as long as they stay in place and stay alive and are understood as marking, delineating the area.
Absolutely.
We know human nature as well. So, boulders are a little bit more of a deterrent, but plantings and environmentally would be desirable as well.
On your monitoring and inspection schedule, who's going to do that?
That would be most likely us. As
So,
a design engineer, we would be contracted with the owner to maintain.
I was thinking of the removing invasive species. You'd have to have someone who knows what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, for that would be the wetland scientist, Brad Holmes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brad was on site at the last site visit, for those of you that didn't attend.
It just, it states that this stuff is going to be done in in monitoring and operation report, but it doesn't really say who does it or exactly how it's going to be done in some areas.
Yeah, I would recommend that if the commission approves it, they put a condition that it's done by a licensed professional engineer or wetland scientist. And if the applicant doesn't provide these reports, the commission could put in an enforcement order to make sure that these reports are getting done
Yes.
on a yearly basis.
Thank you.
Can I ask whether you've given any thought to putting perhaps a wire fence along the limit of the gravel, which would be at the edge of the panels? You've got a light gray line, which is demarcating the edge of the gravel placement. I'm concerned about that there's an inadequate barrier to operations. I mean, everyone on this call understands what the goals are, but that's not durable. And signs will be overgrown and ignored, is my experience most of the time. If operations are not meant to go into that phytoremediation area, it doesn't seem like, a fence, which could have gates so that you could access the other side of the fence, would be durable, relatively inexpensive. It doesn't have to be, a fence, like a security fence. It could be a cattle fence, which is pretty easy to knock in T-posts, but it's kind of a pain in the neck to get out and put back up. So, people would not be, I think, for day-to-day operations, no one would say, oh, we're just going to take this out. Also, the fence wouldn't have to go to the ground. So any wildlife trying to traverse the fence back and forth wouldn't be a barrier to them. So I wonder whether there's any consideration given to putting it at the gravel edge would, one, solve one of our concerns about gravel being mobilized towards the protected zone. And also it would, be very obvious to everyone working on site.
So Scott, can you put on the landscaping plan? So so you're saying right outside the landscaping, you would like to see a
Yeah, I'm saying if you,
50-foot?
yeah, well, if you follow, I would
Right.
just say, you're telling us that you're trying to, if I'm reading this correctly, the phytoremediation zone in some places starts right at I'm looking at the south end of the site. The phytoremediation starts basically right at the corner of the panel.
Mhm.
And again, just as ease of having a landmark for you, I'm not thinking that the area that's not covered in gravel is going to be an area where you would be desiring, or where the salvage yard would be desiring to do operations, right? Because that area doesn't have gravel on it. You're going to churn that soil up and mobilize it into your treatment areas and render them ineffective. So I'm saying if that's the limit of the gravel, then just a simple wire fence running along that gravel edge
Mhm.
is a durable, inexpensive,
Sure.
but flexible, right? Because if you needed to get back into that, you can use gates, you can take, you can roll this stuff up and take it out to get back in. But it's
Yeah, I mean,
something.
we're definitely gonna need to get in there to maintain the landscaping.
Yeah, you could have gates, you could have a gate, you could have as many gates as you need. Again, cattle fence, it's not a big deal to throw posts in. And, put a gate that's a sufficient size to drive a tractor or a grader or whatever you need to do to get in there. But again, it prevents the, let's say, the inadvertent disturbance of the structures you're trying to create to durably protect the wetland.
Yeah, that's something I can talk to the owner with. She's on the meeting here. Roxanne, I think you're on mute. If you want to chime in, and how would you feel about that? Help stay safe.
I think that would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just eyeballing it, it's something like 1,600 feet of, you know, of distance from one end of the site to the other.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of boulders on 3-foot centers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, and boulders also, then you begin to think about the compensatory storage for a large boulder.
Sure.
The thing about the fence is that it would basically be, you know, nearly zero volume,
Yep.
flow through for floodwaters. And again, enough of an impediment that you wouldn't get casual incursions. And if, you know, and if you ever, you know, if it was ever clear during an inspection or a later visit by the Conservation Commission, if the fence isn't there, it's going to be pretty obvious since it runs basically along the lip, you know, or along the eastern edges of the panels.
Yeah, that's fine. We can, you can either make that a condition that we put that fence along the 50-foot buffer there along the edge of our landscaping. But
And I would still be able to work within this, right? I mean, it's easier for you guys to look at the map and understand it than I do, but that
Yeah.
wouldn't really affect our operations.
No, no, this is the area that we have landscaping on anyway, Roxanne.
Yeah, so that would be fine. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
The only other question I had was at the northern end of the site. The treatment trench doesn't quite follow the 50-foot boundary, and I, you know, and I know that the site gets narrower as you go north, but I'm just wondering why that is. And also going along with the fencing idea, if it seems that this is something that the applicant's amenable, you know, to doing this, where would the fence go at that northern end? Would it just go straight from the northernmost, or I guess it would be the northeast corner of the last panel group to the treatment? Or would, you know, is that something that could be put in a condition, or is that going to interfere with operations?
On the north side.
So I'm looking exactly where you are right now.
Yeah.
You can see the very end of that infiltration trench.
Yep.
Actually,
So that area there, we would basically go right up against the that trench.
okay.
And wherever the 50-foot comes out to, we'll probably stop it there and then just dye it in at the end.
So I'm saying, so just to be clear, I'm saying that this fencing would be running along the eastern side of these panels. So it would just be a straight, you know, a straight run where that gravel crushed stone travel aisle ends. Now, it wouldn't be, you know, I wouldn't want it to be at the treatment structures, because that means that your phytoremediation zone is not protected at all.
My thinking is we're gonna run it right along the 50-foot no touch line.
And I would say, if you do that, you know, you're gonna need to document all of those points. That 50-foot doesn't actually, right? The 50-foot doesn't actually correspond to anything in a lot of places. So it's going to be a lot of work to document where that 50-foot is moving in and out. And I mean, in my mind, if you're demarcating, if the crushed stone is going at that gray, you know, that gray line, why not just put it there? Or if you want, put it a foot inside, you know, inside of that, where, you know, as long as it doesn't get inside the 50, because then, you know, you've just got a very clear landmark, which again, for us commission, when we're going to inspect this and give you a certificate of compliance, is very easy for us to see that's exactly where it's supposed to be, because it's basically straight lines.
Yeah, I mean, we can present the plan to Sarah with what we feel like is gonna be the best. It's tough to tell right now because I don't know the limits of where her vehicles currently are. Um, and and like you said, the line does change and it goes more parallel with the contours than it does with the solar. The solar array is more parallel with the property line.
But I'm assuming that the solar, again, that we wouldn't be seeing cars outside of that gravel area, would we?
You could see some of the operation outside that area, yeah.
The fence, I like the idea of the fence as like a sort of demarcation of where the remediation zones are and sort of the plantings as a protection for those. So
Yeah.
I mean, Downey, is that not, if the fence is sort of protecting where the sort of plantings start, is that, do you see that as sufficient?
I think the issue is that you're gonna, I think the issue is that those plantings are sort of, it's not very easy to see on the plan. It seems like it's much, and you don't have persistent landmarks. If some of the plantings die back and then the fence gets displaced, where's the fence go? So to me, you're putting in, solar panels on piers, on concrete, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere next year. They're not going anywhere 10 years from now, probably not going anywhere 20 years from now. So to my mind, it just seems operationally and for us enforcement wise easier. And Mr. Farland, if you're saying that there's going to, again, I'm kind of not clear on if there's operations outside of that gravel area, aren't those going to churn the soil up and foul your bioremediation and your infiltration trenches?
No, because we have basically that 50-foot no touch. Scott, can you slide the plan and go back to the landscaping plan? Yeah, so if you look, that's good. So where that 50-foot zone is the hatched area where the landscaping is. That's where, maybe a couple feet off of that, that's where I envision the fence going. Around the canopies, we're certainly going to need to maintain these solar canopies as well. So we'll need to be able to drive either a forklift around here. And where we place the canopies, we've placed them further enough away from the 50-foot that we can be able to maintain these
Well,
canopies.
you have on that slide, but if you go to the south end.
Yep, slide down south.
Yeah, if you go to the south end, they're absolutely right up against the 50-foot.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
so if you're telling me that it's for maintenance, then that means you're telling me you can't do maintenance on the canopies on the south end. I mean, obviously you can.
And you do maintenance. You can, as long as you can get around. I mean, we would drive underneath. In that case, we wouldn't go outside that. But the fence would be, in that case, we would put the fence right up along that 50-foot. So obviously we wouldn't be able to get around that way, but we could get around the other side and get up onto the canopy.
But I guess my point is that if you're telling me that at that south end, tough for me to judge the scale, but it looks like no more than, you've got no more than 10 feet, 10 feet or 15 feet, basically access strip there between the 50-foot, that the extra area at the other end is not necessary. And again, like I'm looking for the easiest, straightest, easiest for you to build, easy for us to see that it's outside of that 50-foot.
You're gonna clearly see it because the vegetation in that area is gonna be, that's gonna be different vegetation in there. It's gonna be a wetland native mix that we're putting in there along with along with the plantings too. So you're gonna see, you're gonna clearly see a difference there.
And gravel on the
And
other
if we
side.
put and if we put the fence up, that's gonna clearly define it, I think. Along with the fence, we'll also have the signs up there as well. And this is gonna be the plan of record, so,
I guess one of the concerns of the commission has consistently been that with and this was actually one of the comments in Director Mish's letter was the
Yep.
mobilization of the gravel. And I guess, I think that having the fence closer to the panels gives you that protection. It gives you a margin for error. We know that the gravel is going to move. But the gravel is going to be moved by equipment driving over it, most likely. And again, if you have a wire fence, it's usually assigned to most people, oh, I shouldn't drive my equipment there. If the wire fence is right up against that bioremediation area or phytoremediation vegetation area, then I'm pretty sure if I come back in 5 years, the gravel is going to be right up to the fence because people will just drive and that area will become an operations area, which is in my mind problematic.
And you're saying that the fence should be tight to the panels? Is that what you're saying?
I think that, again, because I understand the panels may need maintenance and you may need access to the panels. If it's, 5
Well,
feet.
we use a telescoping man lift to get to the panel, so I don't think that that's an issue. You can be 20 feet away and still telescope up to the canopy. That's not an issue. The footing is, really pretty far from the edge of the array here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking for simplicity's sake that, obviously at the points where the panels are touching the 50-foot, then the fence has to be there. But for the rest of the run of the panels, having the width be uniform so that we just say, put a T-post in 5 feet from the edge of the panel and then put another T-post in, and then you just stretch the wire fence between those T-posts with a couple posts at the end to hold it, you're done. And again, when we come, all we need to do is look down that straight run of fence and say, that looks good. That hasn't moved. If somebody pulls a T-post out and moves it, well, again, if it was a straight run to begin, we'll know. But if it's a curving run, it's going to be very difficult.
so
to
do you
document.
want us to just provide a plan showing it, maybe, either between 5 and 10 feet away?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the less the better, but I think if you can get away with 5 feet, that would be fantastic. I mean, that would be, again, very easy. Obviously, where the panels, as you're going to the north, jog inward, you would just have a jog at that point. But again, looking at the plans.
So parallel to the edge of the canopy, 5 feet offset, running north south.
Yeah. Except in areas where that spacing would place it inside the 50-foot. Then you adhere to the 50-foot.
Okay. We can provide a sketch to Sarah, and I think we're on the same page here.
Yeah.
And that would also provide for some additional phytoremediation within riverfront and areas where there currently isn't any, which would be another benefit.
So I would just add that, this is Paul, this plan really is encouraging to me. It represents some significant improvements in restoring the property and protecting the protected zone. And when I was at the site visit, I spoke with the gentleman who is going to be doing snow removal over the gravel, which could pose a lot of problems in moving the gravel, but it's all going to go from north to south to the end of the lot so that it doesn't jeopardize the river at all. It doesn't get into the resource area. So I was very encouraged to hear that and to actually visualize it.
Nice.
And it may be useful to include both a snow storage area and a plowing O&M.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can add that.
Because the crushed stone under the panels wouldn't be disturbed because you wouldn't have snow removal operations in there.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's right.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about the movement of the gravel. It'll be in that linear aisle.
Yeah, I think more like a bobcat moving the snow, not a snow plow.
Yeah, right. I thought he used the front end loader, but yeah, exactly.
Bobcat.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments
Yeah,
from the commission?
just a clarification, it was the use of petroleum absorbing plants was mentioned a couple of times. Do you have anything specific in mind there? Maybe I missed that.
So I do have a list of the plants in the planting list.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
Yeah, these plantings are all native plantings and are recommended to treat any kind of hydrocarbon as well. So
This is any of all of these would be considered
Yep.
petroleum absorbing plants. Okay,
it's a good mix.
thanks.
Any other comments? Sarah?
I just had one last question about the water that's sheet flowing off of the panels. Is there a spreader? Is there a gutter system? How is that water? Is it just cascading off onto the ground below? How is that water leaving the panel?
Yeah, there is gaps in between all the panels. Phil, what's the size of the gap? Is it
It's about an inch, 3/4 to an inch.
well, so it doesn't, it's not like a rooftop where it all sheet flows to the end and gets off. There's
Yeah.
gaps between every panel. And it hits the ground below and then it mimics the existing condition sheet flow from that point on.
Okay.
So there isn't a long like discharge at the end.
So in your experience, there isn't disturbance of the ground at panel edge? I mean, do you normally do gravel extending slightly outside the panel edge to
Along
prevent?
the drip edge, if there's been times if we feel like there's eroding going on, then we may add a little stone
Okay.
stone trench in there. But if there's stone underneath it, then there's no issues. We've never had an issue.
Okay.
Any more comments or questions from the commission?
I just wanted to add to Paul's comment that I'm sorry I was away and I wasn't able to make the second site visit, but I find this very encouraging progress on the proposal and appreciate the thoughtfulness that's going into it.
Thank you.
And again, I'm just going to ask two quick ones, which is so you have had the opportunity to see Sarah's latest staff report. Is that correct?
Yes, we did receive it today.
Okay, so there were two conditions I just want to ask you about before we close the hearing, and then make some determination that you're unhappy with or you can't comply with. One was that the restoration work conducted prior to construction or other portions of the project. And the other was debris and junk removal also occurring prior to work. And I just wanted to get your input on, is that construction phasing possible? Is it, does it work? Is it?
Downey,
extend-
my
Dave?
understanding of the language is that it can be contemporaneous with the project going forward, either before or during and alongside.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that that was something that the applicant
Yeah,
was strongly against that to tell us now before we close the hearing.
no, I think that's fine as long as, we're working in parallel with what we're doing.
Mhm.
Certainly there'll be multiple crews on site here. One would be doing, the cleanup. One would be, be getting the foundations in. So there'll be two separate crews and we'll definitely be working simultaneously. We have no problem with that.
Okay, and the debris and junk removal is actually prior to any other work. So that would be, pulling out whatever material is
Yes.
currently in the protected zone. So
Correct.
that could be prior to the commencement of the other project work.
Correct.
Okay.
And the last point that we haven't talked about is, since this entire property is located within the floodplain, it will flood at some point. So what would be the plan for assessing and any remediation of either of the planting area, the stormwater system, anything on the ground that's proposed to be permanent?
We could add that to the operation and maintenance plan. Certainly, it will depend on, how much flooding we get. But any plants that are, damaged or lost from a large storm event, or if the drainage systems are, now filled in from debris or whatever it may be, we'll have to restore them to the conditions that they were in, and per the design plans.
Christian, I have a very acute memory of flooding in the early 1980s there, where I was paddling down Mount Tom Road, Route 5, and the Mount Tom junkyard was totally inundated. It's a really difficult place.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, at that time, once everybody survives the storm, we'll have to address the issues.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the public? Any questions or comments from staff?
I think that was everything I had.
How do you want to proceed? There's some plan changes that were recommended and some O&M changes or additions. Do you want to continue this to get that plan, the record plan, straightened out and see the O&M with the additions and then vote on this? Or do you want to condition it somehow at tonight's meeting, which I'm not exactly in favor of, but I want to see a plan that, if I'm going to vote on a plan, I want all the changes shown on it. But it's up to the commission.
I'd feel more comfortable seeing it detailed out in advance of a vote. That way I can process it a little bit better myself. And we can be sure that then if there are any additional conditions that need a little tweaking because something was overlooked that was discussed, we could do it at that time.
Yeah, I think we're getting very close, and I would not consider this a delay, but just putting the fine points on the plan and then being able to vote on it and move on and let you guys do your work.
Is that going to be a problem with you, Christian?
No, I think, we've been down a long road here, so we'll
Getting close.
Yeah, I just had a mustache when we started on this. So, yeah, we are getting close. So, if you could have these ready by our next meeting.
Absolutely, yeah, these won't take long, so we'll get them over to you.
Excellent.
What is the, When will the next meeting be?
And our next meeting, this would be the only thing on the agenda, as far as I know, but that would be October 9th.
October 9th?
Yes.
5:30. I'd appreciate a someone from the commission making that motion.
I move to continue this application to October 9th at 5:30 PM.
I'll second it.
Right, and
All in
roll call-
favor?
Roll call vote on the continuation. Melissa?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Downey?
Yes.
And Mason?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good session.
Sure. I can find my agenda. Okay, next we have a notice of intent for construction of a house addition within buffer zone to BVW for William Ryan, 59 Sylvester Road. So is there someone here for that?
Yes, Ward Smith, Wendell Wetland Services. This is a proposed addition to, very small addition, 196 square feet to an existing single-family home. Half of the addition and the landing and the steps would be within the 50-foot no disturb. Sarah and I'd say we talked about this. We went back and forth a little bit on email. We believe it qualifies under the wetlands ordinance as a degraded area. The ordinance specifically mentions fill. This is an old fill area behind the house that then slopes down steeply to a bordering vegetated wetland. Parsons Brook is out there, but it's all beaver dammed, and it's basically a beaver pond. I did delineate the mean annual high water line of the brook where it comes out of the beaver dam, and none of this work is within the riverfront. It's not within the riverfront of the submerged brook either. It's all a beaver pond. So they would like to put a small addition on. I got to apologize in advance. My numbers were wrong that I gave the surveyor. So we have, including the landing and the steps, we've got 190 square feet in the 50-foot no touch, which is an existing lawn. So that means in order to provide 2-to-1 mitigation, we would need to provide 380 square feet of mitigation. And what our proposal is to plant a line of shrubs along the top of, at the edge of the lawn, take 5 feet of the lawn out of lawn that would revert to natural conditions. So it would be a 76-foot long strip along the top of the slope at the edge of the lawn. So on the plan, it calls for 8 shrubs. That would have to be 16 shrubs by my calculations. It's my fault. I didn't calculate the landing and the steps in there. So the landing and the steps are part of the area that would need to be mitigated. So we would be asking for the ability to provide 2-to-1 mitigation for this area of lawn that is within the 50-foot no disturb. So that, again, the small addition would be half in and half out of this 50-foot zone.
So was the mistake, is the proposed addition 14 by 14, or you just didn't?
Yeah, it's 14 by 14, but then it's got a landing and it's got steps. So
Right.
all of that is within the 50. So that's the part that it's my fault. I told the surveyor the wrong numbers.
Okay, so it's
And that was never my best.
So 14 by 14 is 196.
Yes, total, but about half of that is in the 50-foot.
Right, but that's 196, and then plus the landing, which is about 40 more. So that's
45 for the landing and about 45 more for the steps, plus or minus.
So that's 286.
Yeah, but not but not all of that is within the 50 foot. So we're not mitigating for the area that's out of the 50 foot.
Okay.
Unless the commission wants to. I mean, there's opportunity for a little more if the commission, you know, if that would sweeten the pot for the commission. I think they just want to make a little room that looks out. It's a beautiful view out over the beaver pond and the wetlands back there.
Yep.
So then the additional shrubs, where do those fit in on the plan? Sorry, I
As you
think
see
you
those
said.
shrubs, just continue that line to the left as you're looking at the plan.
Oh, okay.
So there's plenty of room to do that within the 50 foot. So we would be giving up at least 380 square feet of lawn that's in the 50 foot area. So that would be our proposed mitigation.
So the additional shrubs then would get pretty close to the steps, right? So that
Yes, there's room there, though. There is room. At the
Yeah.
very corner, it's about 5 feet from the embankment, so there might be a little bit of a gap right there, but then there's more room to the left as you're looking at the plan to continue the 5 foot zone. If the commission
Okay.
doesn't like that, there's also more room. I kind of like that because it just keeps people off of the slope and away. I think they can work with that, even if we go right near the corner there and just have, you know, there's going to be room to walk around, but it won't be lawn.
yeah.
I mean, we could put more of it to the north, to the right as you look at the plan, if that's, I kind of like putting it at the edge of the lawn, just to make the lawn smaller and keep people off of the embankment, let the embankment grow up. You
Yeah.
know, it's natural.
And it's closer to the wetland too. So.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Low shrubs, so they still have a view.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's gonna be, it says right here, I think 14 feet high, so they're gonna be up above it, so the shrubs can grow up and they can still look out over the shrubs.
Yeah, I was looking at the site to see if maybe there was some opportunity for some different type of mitigation farther in the 50 foot, but there's a very abrupt transition from a mown lawn to really just a completely natural area on the slope and beyond. So there's not,
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
really,
I don't know when this house was built, but back in the day, you know, that's what they did. They just bring fill in and dump fill and dump fill, and it would just make it, you know.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, having walked on it on Monday, it was clear that it was a degraded area that I think is going to be improved by this project.
Whole halves of subdivisions have been built on fill.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Ward, I was assuming that there wasn't any opportunity to move the addition because of the septic system. Do you know if that's accurate?
yeah,
Or
and
is-
it's also, it's basically, they want it, there's a garage on one side. The point of the addition is to get the view, and if they put it around the other side of the house, they're gonna be looking at the road.
Yeah.
So that was, you know. So if the commission approves this, I can either send the numbers to you to write up in the order of conditions, or I can have the plan revised, whatever the commission, if you're comfortable with me giving you numbers, doing it in the order of conditions, it's up to you. I mean, it's fairly simple if the commission agrees that it's an improvement.
One question I had, Ward, was the not mowing the lawn. What will that become? What will
The
it?
whole idea is to just let it become natural conditions. So, you know, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I'm the agent for the town of Athol, and we've got a guy who's violating the riverfront. And I talked to the chair as we were looking at it, and the guy's like, what's the difference between a lawn and not a lawn? And I said, well, look over there. We got milkweed, we got goldenrod, there's bees, there's monarch butterflies, there's all, you know, there's all this stuff there that's not here because you've turned it into a lawn. So there's some shade there. So I don't know exactly what's going to grow back there, but there'll be natural, I assume, wildflowers. I assume things like goldenrod.
Okay, so what I'm wondering, I was able to be there with Sarah and Paul the other day. And it's mostly violets. It looks like
Yeah,
mown violets.
Whatever comes in. I mean, if the commission I kind of like letting things go naturally. If the
Uh-huh.
commission wants to put in a condition that the area, invasive species will be removed, that would be fine.
I didn't
I
really see anything.
I
Yeah,
didn't
I'm-
either, but I'm just saying, if
Yeah,
for the
yet.
first time in my life, I pulled bittersweet out of my yard, which I live in Wendell. It's
Oh.
all woods around here. I don't know where it's coming from. The birds, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
I was like, no, here it is. I'm not,
Jeez.
Yeah, you're
And-
gonna end up with bittersweet and euonymus and who knows.
no, and I got it, but I know how I've seen some sites where there is no controlling it once it gets to a certain point.
Right, right.
It's-
So,
I was pleased that that huge tree is not going to be sacrificed.
Well, I think they didn't want to, they wanted to leave.
Good.
They like the natural view and the natural.
so I agree that it's a degraded area. That's who knows what the fill is. I think it would be nice if we included a condition that invasives be controlled in the unmown area as over time, because something that they're so aggressive. There's a good chance that they'll take hold.
How does the commission want to go with just the area changes that wordsmith is going to give us, or you don't want to? I can't see getting another whole plan, but you can do that if you want.
I think we would need a plan to reference, but it wouldn't have to be a full survey plan. I think it would be fine to draw in the additional shrubs and note those and expand the area.
So
That's
I
it
could
doesn't matter
draw
if it's
that
scale.
in on this plan and you'd be okay with that and
Yeah,
hand change
I
the
think that would be
numbers.
fine.
Okay, I will do that. I've got the plans right here. I've got one I made a mess of, but I'll send you a good one.
Yeah, and just put the date of the change on your,
Yeah. Yeah.
plan.
I will put that in the mail tomorrow.
So if I'm looking at this plan correctly, you've got basically your plantings as originally proposed ran from the north property line
Yeah,
to the edge of the garage.
Yep.
And additional plantings now would run from that point, continuing south.
yes.
And
As far as it's gonna go, we need to come up with, it needs to be 76 feet of length for 5 feet wide to come up with I'll measure it out with a scale. I'll put it on the plan and I'll have the right number of area there of mitigation. And I'll up the planting numbers, basically doubling what I proposed. So I don't know if you look and see that shadbush, black chokeberry, American hazelnut, and silky dogwood. So instead of 2 of each of those, it would be 4 of each of those.
sounds good to me.
Any more questions from the commission? Any questions from the public? I'll need a motion then I assume you want to close the hearing?
If the commission is willing to, contingent on receiving a revised plan as discussed. I mean, I think we've all agreed on what we need to do. If you don't get it, Sarah doesn't issue the order of conditions. You will get it. I'm just saying, I'm just saying it.
I move that we close the hearing and contingent on the acceptance of the slight alterations that Ward Smith is proposing.
I second.
So Melissa, I just have one question before we vote on this motion. Your invasives control condition, was that for a specified time? Was that until plantings are established? Or was that perpetual? I mean, we all.
My preference would be ongoing, annually, inspection removal of the invasives, but I defer to what the commissioners think is reasonable.
That's pulling invasives from 76 feet is,
Yeah.
That's doable. 4
Yes,
acres.
Mhm.
it is.
Okay, that's my only question. So I guess.
Roll call, Sarah.
We have a
Right.
second?
Yes,
Oh,
Paul,
sorry. Yep.
motion by Paul, second by Melissa.
Okay.
All right, so roll call vote, Melissa,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Downey, and Mason.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. I will put that in the mail tomorrow.
Sounds great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We haven't issued,
Yeah, are we gonna move to, are we gonna issue the order or
we just closed the meeting. We haven't,
in,
moved any conditions yet.
so,
Standard plus,
I mean, I guess,
the
yeah, I would,
revised. You know,
yeah, I would move that we issue a order of conditions for this application with standard conditions and an additional condition that in the planting area invasives are controlled with annual inspection and removal, and an additional condition that the plantings as specified on the plan will be extended to provide 380 square feet total of coverage along the eastern boundary of the property, running south from the north property line towards the proposed work.
We'd cover it. I would second that.
all those in favor?
No roll call. I always forget some, even though I know who's here, I never fail to forget someone if I don't look. Melissa,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
and Mason.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sarah, do we have any minutes to approve?
We did, we
Yes.
had May 22nd. That I sent.
The only,
Yep.
the only thing I saw was a typo, Cs instead of seams, that the community member.
Hmm.
That might be worth fixing.
Hmm.
Let's see that. Oh, boy.
Now I want to move the minutes.
Move for approval of the minutes of May 22nd.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Roll call, Melissa,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
and Mason.
Yes.
All right, unanimous. And I realized when I sent the staff report, I deleted what I'd written about the certificate of compliance, but I can give an overview of that since this was a city project. So this was a FEMA funded project that allowed the city to do some work to the old gate at the ice pond on Route 66 to prevent it from overtopping the roadway as it had several times.
Yeah.
And allow the homeowners at the adjacent ice pond drive to clean it out a lot easier than they had been. So we worked with GZA and a contractor over the summer to get that completed. And according to GZA's assessment, everything was done as it should have been.
Sarah, the one thing that I didn't understand was, well, the photos were duplicated, I think, but if, for
Oh,
example,
yeah.
on page 13, it had a photo of the lowest level outlet structure and the settling basement with accumulated sediment. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to be interpreting that.
So this report served two purposes, both for the city closeout of the project to allow us to pay the contractor and the permit closeout. So let me see. Lower level outlet structure with accumulated.
It's in two places, but
Yeah.
the latter place is on page 13.
Yes, the,
I think they were just pointing out that there is some sediment present to the inlet lip of the structure, and may require some maintenance moving forward. So this was their engineering report as well as the permit report. So it's not relevant to the permit work. They were just pointing out like, hey, you might want to get the sediment out of here. And it may actually have been done since they took those photos.
Okay, that since there wasn't any verbal explanation of it, I thought, well, shouldn't that be taken care of? So yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think everything that was critical to the wetlands permit, so making sure the site is stabilized, removing the erosion control, the plantings that were required, that has all been done to
Okay.
GZA's satisfaction.
The other question I have is that I don't believe I was around when that was all being considered. I think that was before I was on the commission or I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know.
Oh, that's fine. If we went with only existing commissioners to vote on. Mason would be the only one who could ever vote on anything.
Yeah, okay.
This one was done in a timely manner. So, some of them take 2 decades or.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay.
okay, vote to approve the certificate of compliance.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
No, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Roll call vote. Melissa,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
and Mason.
Yes.
All right. Unanimous. Thank you.
I had a question for the commission. Has anyone visited the Paradise Pond project for the reconstruction of the path?
I hope they haven't started because they haven't fulfilled any of the pre-construction conditions.
Wondering about that.
Has anyone seen that they've started? That would be a problem.
I have not inspected. No.
They have not started the project at the end of Ellington Road either.
I thought they were
We
done
just-
with that.
We just get the city trucks coming up and down every day, take a look.
I thought they had finished that. I'll check on that one.
Finished it. I just went up there a couple days ago. It's never been started.
Huh.
Unless
I
they hid it
will-
under resodded the area and hid it under the sod. I don't see
I-
anything going on.
I will inquire because I know that had been a priority for DPW.
Mm-hmm.
What they have done is come up and down the road, marking all the water lines.
That
So-
may be a separate project. But
Yeah, that doesn't,
I'll ask DPW about that.
and the gas lines. So it sounds like they're gonna reconstruct the road, but I don't know, that'd be too much to hope for. It's like a minefield.
Oh, boy.
Traffic calming.
Yeah.
Well, it would be nice if they put they at one time proposed a hammerhead at the end of Ellington. Well, the plows could turn around and the school buses can come up there, but the garbage trucks and all that could turn around instead of having to back up. The same with the plows. It's a real pain with the plows. I think the plows now use somebody's driveway to kind of turn around, but they were proposing a hammerhead at one time, which is just pull in and back up and you're back down the road again.
So it'd be a problem for fire engines as well.
Yeah. I mean, where they were gonna do that structure, that could be part of the hammerhead, but of course, that's an additional cost. Oh, any other news, Sarah?
I don't think so. I didn't have anything additional.
Well, Kevin is in our prayers.
Hey.
I certainly hope it goes well with him. At least it's couldn't be in a better position as far as getting help. I mean, the Faber Institute is top notch as far as cancer treatment, especially in brain cancer.
He feels like he has one of the very best doctors in the world to treat him.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's the important thing is to, you hear the word cancer, you go crazy. But he seems to be maintaining his cool, and let's hope he comes out of this all right.
He told me that the extreme headaches have stopped.
Oh, nice. He told me that he's reflecting a lot on everything he has to appreciate in his lifetime, and that helps him to be an optimist as he goes forward.
It's a very
Well, hopefully we have to sit here and get used to seeing a bald Kevin chair in some of our meetings.
Well, at Cancer Connection, we have lots of wigs
There you
that
go.
are free.
Melissa, in the medical terminology, they're called cranial prosthetics.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Yeah. In the everyday world, they're called itchy.
Oh,
But we have headscarves too, and hats.
all right.
Okay, I think that's it. Look forward to the next meeting.
October
Maybe I'll-
9th.
October 9th, and we have nothing else for the agenda, so unless this is beyond the time that something would need to be filed, so unless there a couple pending applications needed some additional information before they could get scheduled, so we may see one of those, but nothing else that I know of at this point.
I will.
We just have the salvage yard, which is pretty upbeat now. They
Yes, yeah.
presented a lot of stuff. So
I will miss the meeting. I will be out of the country.
in your kayak,
No, in my hiking boots in the Dolomites of Italy.
wow.
Yeah, I'm quite excited. I'm leaving on a week from tomorrow, and I'll be back on October 12th.
Have a great, great trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next time, take us.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm headed to Utah, Bryce and Zion, almost to the same stretch of
Oh.
time. I
Oh,
don't know if I'll be
Wow.
able to make it or not.
wonderful. Wonderful.
All right, so if anyone else finds that they won't be able to make it, let me know and we'll have to reschedule, which isn't a huge problem until it gets to be too late and we can't. So we'll have a bare minimum quorum of 4 with everybody who looks like they can make it.
My calendar looks free.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Good night.
Have a nice evening.
Thanks.
Okay.
See you.